It was just another hot Saturday afternoon in Atlanta. The sun was high, cicadas buzzed in the trees, and the air was thick with the scent of summer and hot asphalt. On the side of a quiet suburban road, an old but pristine cherry-red 1967 Ford Mustang sat idling, hood popped open, smoke curling into the sky. Standing beside it was a man in his late 40s, tall, impeccably dressed in a crisp white shirt rolled up to his elbows, sweat beading on his temple. His name was Richard Claymore, a self-made millionaire, the founder of a luxury car app, and owner of several classic muscle cars. Today, one of his prized possessions had broken down on his way to a charity event across town. Richard wasn't a man who enjoyed being stuck or helpless. He had always found a way to fix things, companies, deals, investments, but cars weren't his specialty, at least not under the hood. As he wiped grease from his hand onto an already stained rag, his phone buzzed uselessly with no signal. Just his luck. Then came a voice, young, cheerful, and confident. "You need help, mister." Richard looked up to see a girl no older than 11, standing on the sidewalk in denim overalls smeared with oil, a small wrench sticking out of her pocket. She had warm brown eyes, tight coils of natural hair tied back with a red bandana, and a look that spoke more wisdom than her years should allow. "I might," he replied, raising a brow, amused by her boldness. "You know anything about Mustangs?" She grinned. "I know my daddy used to rebuild them. He taught me some stuff before he passed. I ain't a mechanic, but I can take a look." Richard chuckled softly. "Be my guest." She walked over, fearless, studying the engine with intent. "Looks like your radiator hose popped off and leaked coolant. You didn't see your heat gauge climb." "I guess I was too busy admiring the drive," he admitted, a little embarrassed. She pulled her wrench and leaned in. "I'll fix it up real quick if you got some water to refill the system for now." In 10 minutes, she had tightened the hose, redirected the clamp, and asked him to crank the engine. It sputtered to life, less angrily this time. Richard stared in disbelief. "Where did you learn that?" he asked. She shrugged. "Just watching my daddy. My mama says I'm a natural. She works 2 jobs, so I help my little brother and fix stuff around the house." He noticed then the ring on her small hand. It looked far too elegant and old for a child. A vintage ruby set in a thin, ornate gold band. "That's a beautiful ring. May I ask where you got it?" he said gently. The girl looked down at it, her smile faltering. "It was my mama's wedding ring. She gave it to me after Daddy passed. Said I should wear it when I need to be strong." Richard felt a lump rise in his throat. "What's your name?" "Jayla. Jayla Morris." He extended his hand. "I'm Richard." "Thank you, Jayla. You might have saved me a toe and a whole lot of headache." She nodded, and just as she turned to go, he asked, "Can I give you something for your help?" She shook her head. "Nah, I didn't do it for that. You just looked like you needed help." As she walked away, her small figure disappearing around the corner, Richard stared after her. He couldn't shake the feeling in his chest. It wasn't just her talent, it was the way she carried herself, the ring, her voice. There was something in her eyes, like she'd seen more life than a child should. He made it to the charity event late, but Jayla's words stayed with him. That night, he couldn't sleep. He did something he rarely did, he drove back to that same neighborhood, hoping by some miracle to spot her again. He didn't. But the next day, he returned again, this time walking house to house, asking neighbors if they knew a little girl named Jayla Morris. Eventually, he found the house. A small, 2-bedroom home with peeling paint and a rusted tricycle on the lawn. He knocked. A tired woman in scrubs answered. Her eyes were wary until he introduced himself and mentioned Jayla. Then she softened. "I'm her mom, Tasha. Is something wrong?" "No, nothing's wrong. Your daughter helped me yesterday with my Mustang." She's brilliant. I just wanted to thank her, and maybe ask if she'd like to see a real auto shop sometime. I own a few around the city. Tasha looked stunned. She talked about you. Said you were nice. She loves cars. Been asking for a summer camp or something like that, but we can't afford it. Richard smiled. Well, if you're okay with it, I'd like to sponsor her. Tasha's eyes filled with tears. Why would you do that? He looked at her, then down at the ring on Jayla's hand, which she had just appeared behind her mother to show off again. Because your daughter reminded me what strength looks like. She's got something special. Over the next year, Jayla's life began to change. Richard enrolled her in a junior engineering program, bought her a toolkit with her name engraved, and even set up a mentorship with his best lead mechanic. Jayla soaked it all up like a sponge. She had a gift not just for fixing but for understanding how things worked. Her confidence grew, and with it, her smile. Richard became more than a mentor, he became family. He visited often, helping her with projects, talking with Tasha about bills, groceries, or anything she needed. He kept everything professional but generous, saying it was an investment in brilliance. One evening, a year later, Jayla was asked to introduce Richard at an awards gala. She stood on stage in a dress he'd gifted her, nervously clutching the mic. Last year, I helped a man fix his car. I didn't know he was rich, or famous, or anything like that. I just saw someone who needed help. But he saw me too. He saw more than just a little girl from the south side with grease on her hands. He saw potential. And because of that, my whole life's different now. So thank you, Mr. Claymore, for believing in me before I even believed in myself. The crowd rose in applause. Richard wiped a tear from his eye. Later that night, Jayla sat with Richard outside the venue, eating ice cream on a bench. You think my daddy would be proud? She asked. I know he would, Richard replied, watching the city lights flicker. And your mom's proud too. And so am I. She smiled and looked down at the ring. Mama says when I feel scared, I should remember this ring means I come from love. And strength. Richard nodded slowly. You do. And from now on, I'll make sure you never forget it. Jayla leaned on his shoulder, and for a long time, neither of them spoke. The night didn't need words. It just needed this quiet, beautiful moment between two people. One who needed direction, and one who needed to remember what truly mattered. And in that silence, a bond was sealed, not of charity, but of shared humanity. One act of kindness from a little girl on a hot afternoon had changed both their lives forever. And maybe, just maybe, that's how real change begins.